Hello and welcome to Azimi tutorial. This is a new initiative by Azimi tutorial wherein we will be providing important lectures for the students pursuing English Honours, English General and students of ICSC and ISC. With the exams for the University of Calcutta around the corner, we decided to come up with a sample question paper, and we are confident that you will find a lot of similarities between this sample question paper and your end semester examination. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So your question paper will comprise of 5 objective based questions. It is very difficult, if not impossible, to guess the exact questions that will come from this part of the syllabus. So this is very difficult, but one can assume what kind of questions they will ask. So this is the kind of question they ask. Who wrote Tom Jones? For example, they will mention any works, be it play, be it novel, poem, and you will be asked to write the author, poet, playwright. Okay. Similarly, just go through that. That is not important. See, we thought before 2 days before the examinations, it's futile to give a lecture on every topic. So what we thought, हमने decide किया जो सबसे important topics है, जो we are very confident कि एग्जाम में आपको आने वाला है, वो उस टॉपिक पे आप लोगों को कुछ पॉइंटर्स देना कि कैसे अप्रोच करना है. And this lecture is basically for those students who have not worked hard for the entire semester and now they are in need of some guidance. So we will be telling you how to approach these questions, and we are confident that you will find most of the questions from this sample paper in your end semester exam. So let's see. In question number 2, you have to answer any one out of the 3 questions. This is of 10 marks. Before that, let us understand how much you need to write. For those of you who do not know it yet, 5 marks के लिए आपको 200 words लिखना पड़ता है. For 10 marks, you need to write 400 words. And for 15 marks, आपको 600 words लिखना पड़ता है. 5 and 10 marks you will find in CC1, 15 mark CC2. CC1 में कोई भी क्वेश्चन 15 मार्क्स का नहीं रहेगा. CC2 में 4 क्वेश्चंस रहेगा, चारों 15 मार्क्स का रहेगा, और इसके बाद 5 वन वर्ड टाइप क्वेश्चन रहेगा. उस पर फोकस हम लोग नहीं करेंगे. चलिए अब देखते हैं क्या इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस हैं जो इस सेमेस्टर आपके आने वाले हैं फ्रॉम CC1. सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक ये है ओल्ड इंग्लिश हेरोइक पोइट्री. इसमें जो क्वेश्चन है, राइट अ शॉर्ट एसे ऑन ओल्ड इंग्लिश हेरोइक पोइट्री. जरूरी नहीं कि दिस एग्जैक्ट क्वेश्चन कम्स, बट टॉपिक इस पे रहेगा. They may frame the question in whichever way they like. So old English heroic poetry में क्या लिखना है आप लोगों को? सबसे पहले, for every single answer you need to write an introduction लिखिएगा, and then main body, and then conclusion. Introduction usually आपका एक पैराग्राफ का रहेगा. This will be about the author, about the text, about the time period, and जो भी क्वेश्चन रहेगा उससे रिलेटेड 1-2 लाइन लिख देना. नेक्स्ट बॉडी में मेन कंटेंट आपका रहेगा, एंड देन कंक्लूजन. ये आपका एक फॉर्मेट रहता है. बॉडी में ट्राई करना 2 से 3 पैराग्राफ लिखने का, एंड कंक्लूजन में 1 पैराग्राफ. So the topic is Old English Heroic Poetry. इसमें क्या करना है देखते हैं। इस टॉपिक पे इंट्रोडक्शन आप लिखना, इंट्रोडक्शन में लिखना टाइम पीरियड, टाइम पीरियड के साथ साथ लिखना ओल्ड इंग्लिश हीरोइक पोइट्री जो है इट सेलिब्रेट एंशिएंट एंड कंटेम्प्रेरी वॉरियर्स। इसके बारे में आप लिखोगे कि इट सेलिब्रेट्स एक्ट ऑफ सेल्फ सैक्रिफाइस, इसमें स्टोरीज होते हैं एरिस्टोक्रेटिक ब्रेव मैन के बारे में, इट कंबाइंस पेगन एंड क्रिश्चियन वैल्यूज, एंड देन आपको सम की टेक्स्ट उस पीरियड का लिखना है। फॉर एग्जांपल एक जो आपने कॉलेज में भी सुने होंगे वो है बेओवुल्फ। ओके, देन आपका है द बैटल ऑफ मैल्डॉन, एंड द ड्रीम ऑफ द रूट एंड जूडिथ, ये सब लिखना है। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस यू नीड टू मेंशन सम other characteristics of old English heroic poetry with close reference to any text. You can take Beowulf as an example. These are some of the important characteristics of Old English heroic poetry. It talks about the subject matter is usually heroism, sacrifice. It talks about celebration of warriors. In case of Beowulf, we see what a great brave warrior Beowulf is. We talk about how great they are in terms of strength, physical strength as well as mental fortitude. ये सारी चीज़ों के बारे में लिखना है ओल्ड इंग्लिश हीरोइक पोइट्री में जो बातचीत होती है। ओके, once again these are only guidelines which will help you frame your answers. These are not the lectures on old English heroic poetry. These are only going to help you frame your answers. So do not base your answers only on this video. Do a little bit research on these things, on these topics, because these topics will come in your exam. Next topic is Elizabethan sonnets. In Elizabethan sonnets, you need to mention that it all began in 16th century in England, and it was this concept of sonnet, which is 14 lines poem. It was introduced in England by Sir Thomas Wyatt and Henry Howard. This you will write in introduction. Then you will write what is sonnet. It was introduced in England from Italy. All right, you will mention who was there in Italy, Petrarch, and in body you will mention about Petrarchan sonnets and Shakespearean sonnets. Write about the structure, form, rhyming pattern, iambic pentameter. Mention that, elaborate on that, and then write about Sir Philip Sidney. Mention some of the works of Spenser and other sonneteers, and your answer is complete. In the next question, restoration comedy of manners, you will mention what does restoration means. It means restoration of monarchy with Charles II when he became the king. This period, which is around 1660s, it witnessed a lack of spiritual zeal and decorum in the plays of that era and time. Okay, what happened in those plays? There was an increase in profanity, vulgarity, and gore means violent scenes. पहले जो violent scenes दिखाया जाता था, for example, you read in Oedipus that Oedipus's mother hangs herself, and Oedipus, what he does, he takes the pin and he gouges out his eyes. Okay, this is a very violent scene, but it was shown off stage. It was not shown on the stage. But during this period, these violent scenes began to be shown on the stage to the audience. Next important factor during this period was women actors began to act for the first time. All right, so these are certain things you need to mention while writing the answer. And this question also talks about that you need to mention two playwrights. Mention William Congreve, Sir George Etheridge. Mention their place, their style, and you're good to go for this answer. Next part, you have to answer any one, 5 marks, which means 200 words. First question, in university wits, mention about Oxford, Cambridge. The scholars from these universities, they were known as university wits. Mention some of these scholars, mention their place, and you're good to go. Show your acquaintance with Chaucer and Marlowe. Again, very briefly write about Chaucer and Marlowe, mention some of their plays, okay, and write something about their plays. Write in brief Henry Fielding, okay. A lot of materials are available on internet, so just 200 words, background, name, and that kind of novels or plays that they wrote, okay, that is sufficient for this. This video has already became way too long, longer than my expectations, so I'm going to rush very quickly now. Section 2, who wrote Waiting for Godot? Again, these are just the types of questions that will come. The possibility of these exact questions coming in your exam is very less for the objective based only. For the rest of the questions, the probability is very high, but just for your revision, who wrote Waiting for Godot? Samuel Beckett. Name one modernist poet. T.S. Eliot. Name one novel by James Joyce. The Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. And name one founder of Pre-Raphaelite. You can write Gabriel Dante Rossetti. Who used pen name Elia? Charles Lamb. Again, you have to answer any one question out of 3. The first question is about pre-romantic poetry. Started late 18th century. So some of the salient features: emphasized on nature, it talked about individualism, it promoted passion, emotion, and imagination over intelligence, and it was heavily inspired, or they had a lot of interest in middle age. All right, elaborate these points, give an introduction, write in bodies all these things, find out some of the poets of this era. Okay, there are a lot of, like James Thompson, Oliver Goldsmith, Thomas Gray. These are some of the pre-romantic poets. Just write about them and you're good to go for this answer as well. So the next question is about Victorian women novelist. इस क्वेश्चन में आपको इंट्रोडक्शन में देना है विक्टोरियन पीरियड के बारे में एकदम शॉर्ट में. अगेन आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू गिव अ लेक्चर ऑन दिस बिकॉज वो बहुत लंबा हो जाएगा, और शॉर्ट में बताना है कि आपको क्या क्या लिखना है. सो इंट्रोडक्शन में विक्टोरियन पीरियड के बारे में, ये इसका पीरियड है. नॉवेल का राइज बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया था बिकॉज ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन एंड बिकॉज ऑफ अदर फैक्टर्स. मिडिल क्लास के जो लोग थे उनके पास लिखने का और पढ़ने का टाइम आ गया था बिकॉज ऑफ एक्यूमुलेशन ऑफ अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ वेल्थ. सो ये सारा रीजंस था. एंड वुमेन के पास भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा रीडिंग मटेरियल था, प्रिंटिंग प्रेस, ये सारे रीजंस की वजह से. सो नाउ यू नीड टू मेंशन, बॉडी में आपको मेंशन करना है वुमेन नॉवेलिस्ट के बारे में. सो देयर आर 3 ब्रॉन्टे सिस्टर्स, ओके, Charlotte Bronte, Anne Bronte, and the third one was Charlotte and Emily Bronte. Okay, you will write about some of their works and what kind of works they wrote. Then another women novelist of that period is Elizabeth Gaskell. Okay, she was a good friend of Charlotte Bronte. You need to mention some of her work. And then George Eliot again. Women used to write under the names of men writers because they thought if they wrote under the pseudonym of any male writers, they would be given more importance. So in that period of time, any profession for women was very difficult, especially writing profession. And sadly, it is true even in today's time. But write all these things. You can write also this fact that how women had difficulties in writing under their own names, and your answer is complete. These names that I'm writing, please note these names down, Google about these names, prepare your answers, because you will find these questions in your exams, and if you're not prepared, then you will regret not preparing the answers in advance. So please do not make this mistake of not taking this lecture seriously. Next question is on James Joyce as a modernist novelist. Mention about, in brief, modernist movement in the introduction. Write about it. Write about the time frame. Please Google it if you don't have notes. Then talk about James Joyce. Give a little bit of background. Where was he born? Okay, Dublin, Ireland. Mention about his, again, it's not important to mention in which year he was born, but if you could recall, it's good, you can write that. Okay, and he is one of the great names in modernist fiction. He had a particular style of writing. Mention that. For example, he is famous for his stream of consciousness. Mention that. Stream of consciousness. Mention about his absurdist drama. Mention about something called mythical parallelism. Now again, I don't have we don't have much time to explain because we need to keep this video short. Just note down these words. If you have any problem, comment below and I'll try to get back to you as early as possible. I know we have 2 days left only. We have only 2 days in time. Google these things. You will understand what these are and mention these keywords whichever I am writing here. All right. After writing these points, mention some of his books, some of his novels, and what kind of novels they were. And this answer is complete. Now, for the 5 marker questions, I'm not going to spend much time because you know what to do. 200 words. Just do a little bit Google search, write about their background, write about some of their, like T.S. Eliot, write some of his poetry, Charles Lamb, some of his works, mention some of their works, and your answer is complete. Just remember, give a very short, very brief intro, body, and conclusion. No matter whether it's 5 marker, 10 marker, or 15 markers, you need to mention this format, and then you're good to go. For philology, we'll have another video. So thank you very much. I hope you learned something from here.